Okay. There, that's looking stable now. I don't know. You know how my internet, guys, it wigs out. I will grab the link again. We'll do this. Do that. Cool. We do it. It's fine. We're back from the dead, right? Yeah, I have no idea what happened. It was just having troubles reconnecting, I guess, and so you just unplug it and plug it back in. Solves the problem always, right? You know, you have like a real issue if you unplug something and plug it back in and it still doesn't work properly. That's when I get scared. But you know, it's fine. We got there. I'm eating some Cheetos. Taking a little break. I don't like Cheetos. What about you all? Like, Chester Cheetah himself is kind of cool. You pooped and it died? I did not go poop. It just, like, the internet died while I was gone, so when I came back, I was just like, why is it not... What happened? Like, it is what it is. We'll get started. We're gonna yell at Roswell. We're gonna punch him in his, like, tiny snoot, like he deserves. Burn him alive. You know how it is. That's what you want to hear about first? Yeah, you mentioned a fire, but what else? There's a one vision that's almost reoccurring, like a nightmare, really. I'm in the basement. The fire is raging. I can hear the screams of people above, and when those screams stop, too. You have that as a nightmare? Yeah. It's strange to call it that, but pretty much. Even though it was caused by Thanatos, did he do to you what he was doing to Tyson? What? He was, what he was doing to Tyson? Yeah, on the night of the full moon. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Have you ever had that dream without Thanatos knocking you out? Yeah. And Thanatos knows? Ah, Born, hello! He does. Why didn't you say anything? That sounds horrible. Even after hearing about the visions you had, I wondered if the same thing had happened. Wait, had been happening. Yes, the same thing as if I was having them as nightmares as well. You mean you haven't been dreaming of them too? A couple, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to really tell what's just a dream and what's. I guess that'd be a memory, right? Memories. Yeah. So, when did you talk to Thanatos about all this? About my nightmares? Earlier, and more than you'd think. For a small while, I thought I was talking to a ghost, but no, just a rat. And he just told you what was happening? He explained what I was seeing were memories. I knew what it was talking about pretty quick. And I have my mother to thank for that. Is this the last update? Yes, it is. For Route B. It's Route B. For some reason, I keep thinking this is Route D. You know? But I don't know. Speaking of, what did you want to know? She's really Florencia Hammond? Hammond? Flora Sinclair. Right, but before she married your dad. Roswell shrugged, shaking his head. All I can tell you is that Uncle Oswin was someone that Mom talked about fondly, if sometimes a little sad about. He was the one that helped deliver the news about my sickness, too. So there was a time where he was around a fair bit. So he's really, you know, what, related by blood or not? I'd have to guess we are, although it's less a guess and what I've been told anyway. Then what did you really think about Oswin dying? I don't really understand the question. It's unfortunate news, but has anyone seen the body? Yes. And then I suppose it just hasn't hit me yet, or without seeing it, I'm just not as affected. I've always had a strange relationship with death. Do you did you know that this was going to happen when your parents arranged this vacation, Roswell? That everything was going to go wrong, that we'd be trapped and maybe die? There's no good answer to that, Dave. So the answer is yes. And I guess my last question would be, do you know who Thanatos' master is? Who he really listens to? I think so, but it's not a simple answer. I will murder you myself. Like, I will stab you in the gullet, Roswell. Just give me an answer. I think it's stupid that I know the answer because of Route A. But you, the B version of you, have to be silly. Hello, Billy. Thanatos listens to his original. Thanatos listens to his original master, the one he was gifted to long before he you seemed to be the right choice for his experiment. Don't be selfish. I. What's enjoying too? I mean, there's enough of this piggy to go around. We can each get one stab, maybe even 10. We need to optimize the stabbings, so that everyone can get as many stabs as possible. I held my gaze on him with a slight frown. There was an answer I was expecting, and deep down, I didn't want to accept it as the truth. He's nice to you, so... The reason for that is likely because, at the very beginning, he was likely given to me. He wasn't given to you this time around? A loud crash from somewhere downstairs echoed up, followed by another. What's going on down there? We were just getting to something interesting, and you're just gonna not follow up on that? I am annoyed, but I accept it. Dominic and Jack aren't meant to show up for a while, are they? If what Thanatos is saying is the truth, then yeah, we should have had time. Not to mention, they were barricading things. Maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just furniture they're messing with. I hope so. But we should check to make sure. I turned to leave, and Roswell quickly snatched me by the wrist, making me stop. Wait. What? I agree that we should leave, but we're not done talking. But yeah, but we should go make sure everything is fine, shouldn't we? Yes, but wait just a minute more. For what? You asked if I knew all of this was going to happen when my parents arranged the vacation, and I said there was no good answer to that. I just assumed that you didn't know. That's just it. I did. Well, more accurately, I didn't know, but that's kind of why this is messy. Could it have happened? Sure. Was it a guarantee? Not at all. So what went wrong this time? I honestly don't know. It could have been something Thanatos did. It could have been some random variance. We have no way of knowing. Unless we ask Thanatos. But all that means that if we don't know, that's he's the one behind it all. Putting us in this mess of a situation that we need to get out of. When Thanatos and I talked, I always have this feeling that he knows more than he's sharing, that he's hiding something deep down for some reason. That's the impression I get too, that he's up to something. It would have been nice if he was trying to avoid us being in this fire, but I guess that's where we're at now. We just all need to survive it, and we can go home. And we need to kill Memphis. There's no safe way home, or even any safety if we get out of this mess, with him still alive. Because? Because he's a bad man, Dave. All bad people either die or work hard for redemption. You honestly think someone who's the leader of a organized crime syndicate is going to turn around and decide to be a good guy? I laugh inwardly, shaking my head. It sure would be nice. We rushed downstairs to see what the commotion was, seeing at first only a pile of furniture by the front door. Everything okay? What happened? Sal came out, wandering out of the dining room, rubbing his head. I went to ask if he was all right, but he put up a hand, shaking his head. Orlando is gone. Orlando's gone how? Where? He jumped through the fucking window. That's amazing. And there wasn't a CG for it? I don't get to see Orlando just jump. Just crash through the window. It was accompanied with a groan, and I looked at Roswell, bewildered at how Sal was acting. Roswell scampered off immediately to check the dining room, leaving me with Sal. Sal, language. This is a PG video game. This is meant to be safe for TJ. Harumph. Wait, ask Grizz for Orlando yeet through window CG. Oh no. Sorry. Orlando woke up and knocked me into the wall and hit my head pretty hard. Then he smashed through the window, yelling. He didn't, I didn't hear any yelling, just a crash. Well, perhaps less of a yell and more of a distressed wail. Still, he just jumped right through the window, shattering the glass. I can picture what I can picture is the papyrus scene. Oh no. Oh no. And he said nothing? Nothing between when he woke up looking terrified, wailed, and jumped out the window. Didn't even seem to register that I was next to him. And the others? The two, you two are the first ones to resurface. Haas and Tyson left to go out somewhere, but should be still inside. Dean was wandering around outside for a bit, but had to take a long while. But had to take the long way around. Okay. The long way around. Sal pointed over to the maze of furniture against the back door. A barricade. It feels strange trapping ourselves inside the house, though. What do you mean? The fire that Roswell mentioned. I went to watch over Orlando when Tyson showed up, but I got pieces of what's happened. Oh. I would really like to go home right about now. Which seems more difficult if we're trapped ourselves inside a building that's going to be set on fire. Yeah, now that you mention it, I'd asked Thanatos, but he's not around anymore. Said he needed to keep a lookout for someone. Memphis? I feel like he was being coy by not saying, so I just let him leave on his own. So not Memphis. If I had to guess, it'd be Benson. He's the only one unaccounted for. But he doesn't know. Well, Sal's right. Orlando's nowhere to be seen. Just a smashed window. It took you long enough to confirm that. Well, no. I had other things I wanted to check. Such as? Is there any sign of anything just wrong? Anything he might have left behind, or any indication to explain his behavior? I thought it was pretty clear from my retelling of events, Roswell. Well, sue me for wanting to see if there was any clues. The most I can confirm is that Orlando's probably bleeding.
He just jumped out a window after all. Though, for how he jumped through it, and the amount of splintering in the glass, chances are it's maybe only a few minor cuts.
Deep enough to draw blood, and probably not all that debilitating or life-threatening for sure. Yeah. Beyond that,
I wonder where he'd go. Yeah, it's not as if there's many safe places around here, and he knows his father is out there.
which means wherever he saw was worse than facing his dad. Didn't Thanatos say he was preparing himself for something heroic? How is running away heroic, or even jumping through a window?
I have no idea.
Sal, how are you feeling about all this?
Confused and concerned. Why?
Is there anything I can do or say to help? He thought about it for a few moments before shaking his head.
I do not believe so. Unless you can perform a miracle, it's not up to fate it's now up to fate to decide what happens.
Then he wandered away with his head low. Dave, maybe we should try and get some sleep. I don't think I'll be sleeping. Not now that Orlando is missing. Did you want to go looking for him? I don't know what I want anymore. I just know that I have this feeling deep down. What kind of feeling? A bad feeling. A feeling like the world is about to end. You don't have faith? I don't think faith is going to cut it anymore. Much like Sal, I wandered off. Okay, should there be a comma there? Okay, maybe not. I don't know how commas work. I just like, is there a pause? Comma. Like, you know, and my English teachers are always like, you don't know how to write, do you? And I'm like, no. And then they give me a B for effort. you know how it is. My goal was to find a quiet room and wait things out. Oh, that's where my phone is. I hadn't been given a job outside of finding Thanatos, and even then, I didn't care. There was going to be a fire. People were going to be in danger, but I was done. I wanted it to be over. Who dies first? Hoss? Oh my god. But what if I want it to be Roswell? Come on. When I sat down, I closed my eyes to prepare for sleep. I knew I wouldn't actually fall asleep, but maybe if I pretended well enough, it'd happen. That doesn't work. If I was lucky, maybe things would be over by the time I woke up, too. I sat up suddenly, having passed out for the time. How long, I wasn't sure, but I could hear yelling. It was Tyson from the sound of things, but I could hear a couple other voices mixed in.
Dave?
But we know the rules. No! Michael, come on. We can have faith. Yeah. And Dean breathed out, looking back towards the foyer before gesturing for me to follow.
They've shown up.
What's going to happen?
I don't know. No one's harmed yet, but...
Oh yeah, let's go! All at once, the sound of Tyson's yelling and the other voices went quiet. My blood runs cold, and I was frozen half between sitting down and standing up. And I shared a look with Dean, who seemed just as stuck, though he was the first to move. He gestured for me to come closer again, and after a few more moments, I did. There still hadn't been a sound since we'd heard the gunshot, and the others hadn't surfaced yet either. Dean had me behind him, looking around and almost jumping when he heard voices again. Shit, that was close. My ears were trained by Tyson's voice, but he hadn't said anything yet. I reached out and grabbed onto Dean's shirt, gripping tight as the seconds ticked by. Maybe it's because they oh, wait. They weren't yelling and we couldn't hear them from the middle of the foyer. Maybe it was because they were all dead and I had no idea which way to go.
What are you doing?
Thanatos, what are you doing?
Seeing what you two are doing, obviously. You're the only two still inside after all.
Wait, everyone?
Everyone, for now anyway. But Haas and Tyson are meant to be outside, right? Sure, but factor in Orlando jumping through a window, Roswell being a slippery bastard,
and really that's all we're gonna say about Roswell? Okay.
And Sal just wanting to make sure people are alright.
And I guess Benson, too.
Speaking of, actually...
Benson, what are you even doing here? What is... I don't... Hello, Farstriker. I followed Thanatos' gesture towards an unbarricaded door, and sure enough, standing there was Benson, no worse for wear.
A gentleman?
Benson?
Yeah, Benson's back. Was about to wring the rabbit by his neck. I think he's a hare, actually. Like it makes a difference. Truth be told, in this specific instance, it doesn't matter too much. I know Oswin rarely considered the specific differences.
I looked past the three of them and saw Roswell lingering in the doorway, looking out into the yard beyond, but no sign of Haas. I imagined him walking into the room with a Bayonetta walk. No, his leggies.
Haas is outside talking to Dominic, and I believe Jack has made himself scarce after I shot a device out of his hand. It was impressive.
You saw it happen?
It did what the rat said and backed up Haas. Jack seemed ready to blow the bombs up then and there. I'm surprised you didn't hear a Tyson yelp. Hey! Haas seemed to need a few moments to compose himself after hearing the gunshot, but Dominic seemed to give him room to breathe. Still doesn't feel right leaving them out there, but if Haas says it's alright.
What are they talking about?
I was hoping someone could fill me in. I've only just come back after all.
Where did you go?
At the request of Roswell, I sought down a passage down the mountain, though I may have come up somewhat short, warranting my return here instead. You couldn't get off the mountain. That is a complicated question to answer, but I shall do my best.
So it's not a no?
It's hardly a yes either. There is a route off the mountain, within the depths of the watermill, though it's frequented by a dragon with a bad temper.
Oh, hello, David. David the King Wolf. Hello.
Memphis. Indeed. If he was there, could we not go there instead? With how readily trapped it is, while we could go there is no safe way to ensure we pass without setting off his traps.
So you didn't make it off the mountain after all?
I didn't say that, but there is no help coming. No. The police are, regrettably, within Memphis's back pocket, and are not willing to intervene. If we're to come out of this unscathed, we're to do it alone.
But that sounds awful.
Please tell me that there's some level of plan in the light of this. Oh, there's a plan.
How are things, Mr. Josh? I'm doing pretty good, David. I hope you're having a good time.
Oh, there's a plan.
Not a great one.
Oh, good grief. The rat is still around.
Yes, he's still around.
It didn't miss me, Benny boy.
This is why Thanatos is the best. He's just the best, guys.
Roswell, save me from having to converse with the rat. What's the plan?
Haas is currently trying to get Dominic on our side before Memphis arrives.
If Tyson wasn't out there as a buffer, we'd have a couple dead by now, thanks to Benson's return. Getting one bear on side isn't a plan.
Apparently, there's going to be a fire.
A fire? Are you implying we fake our deaths?
No, we need to deal with all three of them and come out unscathed. That's our way out. I watched as Benson's eyes went over to the barricade, and he shook his head.
You're intending to trap us inside of a burning building. I fail to see the rationale in such an act. You're more than welcome to head out of there and put the lives of everyone here at risk, Benson. I beg your pardon. You heard me.
We have a bigger problem anyway. Orlando's missing.
Oh, right, yeah, Orlando's missing.
He jumped through the window.
And this was part of the plan?
Yes.
Sure, why not?
Real convincing, Thanatos. So Orlando's now out there with Jack? Shouldn't we?
We might not be able to, Dave.
Haas? How did it go?
Did you secure an ally in Dominic?
If I'm being honest, I have no idea. What do you mean?
I asked him what he was getting out of doing whatever it was he and Jack were up to. He said he was getting paid, and I asked if it was enough.
And?
Apparently, yeah. Unfortunate. But something came up about him and Jack.
No, boy. Here we go. What about him and Jack? Are they,
roommates? Roommates, perhaps. Yeah, sure, roommates. Anyway, it's clear that Dominic doesn't want Jack coming to Harmon the same way he wants an easy job.
Which means he's willing to keep out of it with Jack, so we just have to deal with Memphis.
More like if Jack's in danger. I think we can count on Dom to step in, for better or worse. It's something we can use, but doesn't assist us with Memphis. Speaking of, we should barricade the door and take our position.
Position?
He's coming, Dave. Soon.
And Dean grabbed Sal, and they started moving things from the side room to the front door. Tyson jumped in to help, with Roswell looking up at the ceiling. Thanatos, what happens when he arrives?
We hope that we're on the timeline where we survive.
It felt odd just standing there, waiting for something to happen. Benson disappeared again, taking with him Tyson to prepare. Haas was pacing, and eventually was stopped by Sal, Dean, and Roswell. We're keeping watch at the door each, leaving me to just wait. And so we waited. Thanatos was almost as still as I was, standing next to me on the floor and just waiting as people moved around. Strike up a conversation with Thanatos, it's cute. Eventually, we were all situated in the foyer, half of us on the stairs, a couple of us by the door, taking cover just in case. None of us dared to speak, and if the way out wasn't blocked off, I was certain that at least one of us wouldn't run away. It was Roswell who gasped first, and that alone told us all we needed to know. They'd arrived.
Away from the windows. Stay down if you can.
Roswell rushed away from the back door as Benson moved up to look out the window. Though he ducked soon after, closing his eyes and taking out his gun. It was a It was deathly quiet at first. Then Benson peeked through the window. He immediately ducked back down as a single shot shattered the glass, and nowhere near where his head was, but a couple of the others were already scrambling upstairs. He didn't even consider anything about the fire and followed suit. It was the best way to get the most distance away from them as possible. Though being on anything other than the ground, anything other than the ground floor of a burning building seemed like a bad idea. Any idea that I didn't have as I climbed the stairs to follow the others. Tyson looked out the window and and swore, checking the gun in his hand. Ty?
It's all three of them. Talking didn't do shit. But the bombs, we don't have to worry about those, do we?
Not with the detonator destroyed. Just what sparks the fire. As if to answer our question, Haas jumped back from the window as a series of solid slams and cracks echo from downstairs. Okay. They're breaking down the door? Well, if they want what's downstairs.
Speaking of,
Thanatos?
I'm going to take myself offline for a bit. I'll be back later.
Thanatos, no! Wait, what?
Keep my body safe until then. You're going to need it.
But almost immediately he went limp and fell to the floor. Roswell quickly scooped him up. I don't understand. A single gunshot echoed from downstairs, and Haas yelped, "Yes! Yes!" Okay. Shoot the Haas. And then soon after, a loud laugh, after a moment of silence. A single gunshot echo, then crashing started up again. Even despite the additional shots, the crashing continued, followed by Benson quickly joining us on the stairs.
It seems Memphis is as bulletproof as he claims, even with specific ammunition.
And they're busting down the barricade?
All three of them!
Guys, Jack's not by the back door anymore. From where we were standing on the stairs, we looked towards the front door, wondering if Jack was about to try the same.
Our priorities are taking down Jack and Dominic. Tyson, if you see a shot, you take it.
He looks over at us, looking from mad to stunned. That's what that says. Eyes flicking to the gun in his hand. I recognized that expression. He was having doubts.
Enough!
A growl followed before what could only be described as a miniature explosion happened next. The furniture of the back door splintered and spreading across the floor. The pieces of wood and alike were smoldering, if not already on fire, blown away as if the barricade was nothing more than a minor inconvenience. The heavy pair of footsteps moving through the pieces of the doorway remained made me tense up. Almost immediately, I saw a familiar shade of red. I yelped as the shot zipped by my ear, narrowly missing the bear as he stepped into view. Almost immediately, as the shot rang out, Memphis had his gun on Benson, and Benson had his returned. Almsot by reflex, but neither was firing.
What the hell was that for? No need to kick up a fuss. Just go grab the kid.
We quickly looked at one another, but as Dominic made a move, Tyson took another shot, grazing his shoulder.
You gave him a gun, Benson. Poor kid looks spooked. Come on, I'll give you a free shot if you like. Anywhere you like.
Dom rolls his shoulders, wincing a little before looking to Mensis.
Boss, we shouldn't. Where's the rush? The moment any of them move, they'll get shot. It's the only reason Benson here hasn't gunned you down, with him looking down the barrel of a gun already.
Haas was cowering beside me. Sal and Roswell had their hands raised slightly, and it looked like Tyson was going to make a shot. The only one seemed unaffected was Dean, who mostly just seemed to be staring off into space. Dean, head empty.
I'm waiting. Shoot me.
Haas and I both yelped as the gun fired. All of us instinctively, instinctively wanting to cover our ears afterwards. But without even flinching, the bullet struck him in the chest. No blood. It looked like not even his shirt had been damaged from the bullet. Okay. He shook his head, gesturing to Dom to continue what he was doing. Quietly, he walked past us up to Tyson, taking his gun off him. I thought that might have been it at first, but Dom quickly turned back and slammed his fist into Tyson's jaw, and Tyson fell. Dean caught him, but it was clear that he was out like a light.
Now, anyone else want to try anything funny? No?
On his way back down the stairs from punching Tyson, Dom stopped by Benson and forcefully took the gun from him.
Good. Now hand me the keys to the time machine.
I looked over to Roswell, knowing he held Thanatos.
The Hamden kid has the key. Makes it nice and easy. And all we need now is Oswin, and we can get rolling.
Apparently Dominic didn't tell Memphis that Oswin was dead, or maybe Memphis had just forgotten. Still, we looked at one another, not sure how best to respond. Memphis went to shoot, but it was Dom who beat him to it, firing a round into the air from a gun. He took off Tyson. Better than one of us getting shot for sure, but it wasn't helping things.
Next time, it won't be a warning shot.
He shot Dominic a look for a brief moment, bringing his gun to rest on Roswell.
Get over here!
Wordlessly, Roswell walked towards Memphis, coming to a stop right in front of him. Yes? It was only a few steps, but Roswell was backhanded from where he was standing onto the floor below us. Let's go!
Now, I'll take this one with me in light of the old guy not being around. Anyone else want to volunteer?
I looked to Haas, cowering behind me, to Tyson, unconscious and cradled by Dean, so he wasn't as much on the floor as Roswell. Sal was stunned, looking between Dominic and Memphis, and Benson was still trying to stare Memphis down from the other side of the gun. He turned quickly to look at me, quirking a brow.
Got something to say?
Oh, I remember you now. He reached over and grabbed me by the jaw, looking me over and then shifting that same hand to grab my neck.
Looked just like your daddy did, kid. Should have pieced it together sooner. Especially seeing as though you're that kid my faggot son brought home.
Much like Roswell, I was thrown to the floor to land next to him, coughing from how Memphis had gripped my throat, that little bit tighter right before moving me.
Dom, keep an eye on the rest. I'm taking these two downstairs. What about Jack? Figure it out between the two of you.
Roughly, Memphis picked Roswell up, as if he was weighing nothing, and pulled me to my feet, and as I was getting up, only to kick me down again. Like, okay.
Get moving.
Stumbling was my way forward. If a little slow, it was just fast enough to avoid getting knocked back down again. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I took Memphis exactly where he wanted to go. It's not like I had an alternative. As we entered the room, Memphis shoved me to the side and threw Roswell roughly to the opposite side. He was curled up, still whimpering, but at least he wasn't dead or unconscious. Memphis went right to the door, looking it over.
All right, boys. How do I open this? Give me the keys.
The keypad. Roswell struggled to get up, pointing toward the very thing he was talking about. You need the password.
Well, what is it?
I don't know. Do you know Roswell? Memphis looked between Roswell and the door briefly before marching right over and dragging Roswell over to the panel.
Open it!
I can't. Roswell soon had Memphis's gun on the back of his head, but he didn't budge, at least at first. He shook his hand shook as it rose to the level of the keypad, and he slowly started putting things in. Each press slow and measured before he stepped back.
That it?
It should be. He'd pressed confirm, but even a second passed after Roswell confirmed. But the face he gave after hearing the sound was wrong. Well, the sound of the wrong password wasn't the one that I was expecting.
Acute.
His gun found itself right between Roswell's eyes, though.
But I don't need a specific word to open this door.
Before he could pull the trigger, I heard the familiar sound and went to cover my ears, expecting it to be knocked out.
Password accepted.
I look around, expecting to see Thanatos, but instead just heard his voice echo through the room.
Looks like your lucky day, kid.
Memphis went over to the door and tried to open it, though it didn't seem to budge.
Please enter the door in front of you.
Memphis slammed the door, and it seemed to shake. Roswell slipping away to the side, so he was out of the way. What he didn't notice was Thanatos stirring in his hand, and an arm contorting mechanically to point towards the door out of the room.
Please enter the door.
I tried to crawl away quietly towards the exit, taking Thanatos' directions, and it seemed like Roswell was keen to follow along.
Where do you think you're going?
When I didn't reply, he huffed, and I looked back to see him now aiming the gun in my direction.
You're more trouble than you're worth.
I remember hearing the gun. I remembered how it echoed around the room from just how small of a space we were in, not to mention how loud it was. No doubt it wouldn't cause some alarm upstairs. The smell of blood filled my nose, the searing pain running along my body all at once, the coldness of the floor below me. I could still register these things. But if I could, there was no way I was dead, was I? Not that I could speak to find out, nor was there anyone to really talk to. It was a peaceful day. The sun was out. All my friends were alive to spend the vacation with me. I was happy. Oh, it's showing all of them. Okay. Or maybe, I don't know. This was the Haas route one, right? Yeah. This was the Haas route. Or I was, once upon a time. It was a peaceful afternoon. The sun was setting. My friends were alive to spend the vacation with me. Most of them, anyway. I was happy. Or at least that's what I kept telling myself. But I knew deep down I was drowning in my own thoughts. Sadness. I wasn't sure. Why wasn't anyone saving us? Why had this happened to us to begin with? Who would consider this fair? The night was cold and bitter. The moon was high in the sky. There was no one left but me. Somewhere far behind me, a fire roared. Every now and again, a small exploding sound echoed into the night as I huddled there on the side of the road. What appeared to be Thanatos was cradled delicately in my arms, and I rocked back and forth. As I rocked back and forth, I was crying, but I wasn't sad. Sad didn't begin to describe it. Instead, it was closer to the feeling of a blanket threatening to smother me. My lungs were on fire. I felt sick and sore, but didn't move. Was this what fate had in store for us? Was this really how this had to go? Was there no chance at that? Something happier? I was aware that I was somewhere dark now, alive and hallucinating. I didn't know, but I was still on the floor.
There you are.
It's actual best boy, everyone. It's actual best boy. Dad, what's going on?
You should probably get up, son. You've been sleeping for a long time.
Sleeping? No, what?
Get up, Dave.
Huh?
I said, get up.
All at once, everything came back into view. There I was, still feeling out of it. What had happened? Where was I?
We've got to move now.
And Tyson was dragging me up by the arm as I looked around the basement. But the only thing ringing in my ears was the pained yelling coming from inside the room next to me. Ty, what's happening?
The fucker is going nuts in there. We heard the yelling, and I ran down to find out what the fuck was happening.
And Roswell? He started moving me toward the stairs before answering, almost pulling me along so we were running.
Passed him on the way down. Seemed out of it. Had the rat with him, though.
When we got upstairs, there seemed to be a face-off of some description between Dean and Dominic, though they weren't doing anything more than growling at one another, like, okay. Thankfully, Tyson also let me go, but I quickly turned to him with a frown. Are you all right? Didn't Dominic punch you unconscious?
I'm not apologizing for that. Any decent person would apologize. Good thing I ain't decent now.
Okay, yes, we get it. But what the hell is happening downstairs? Memphis tried, and Roswell, Dave, you're very helpful right now.
Well, whatever's happening downstairs, the boss is having a time of it. He sounds like he's in pain. Good. No, not good. He's gonna be pissed.
Where's Jack, or Benson even?
Benson's left to go arm himself further, to find a solution to, well, Memphis.
Sal stepped up as Tyson peeled away from me without having answered my question to him before.
Yeah, as for Jack, no idea. Haven't seen him since you guys disappeared downstairs.
Well, what do we do now? And we have to kill Memphis, somehow. Roswell stumbled in from the side corridor, though I didn't see Thanatos with him. I don't know how, but he needs to go.
Good luck. You ever trying... Wait, you even trying will just piss him off. So, you're gonna try... Wait. So if you're gonna try, you better do it.
I think Thanatos is keeping him restrained for now, but... Another roar from downstairs echoed up the staircase.
Is there anything we can do?
I don't know, barricade the basement, fucking just leave? Like... I mean, at this point, like, you know what I mean, guys? Like... What am I reading? Yes. In the back of my mind, I remember the fire. Whatever happened in that memory, Memphis hasn't died yet, but it was right here in this room that I saw him. Was Thanatos lying? Was he misremembering? What was going to happen? Well, you saw...
we saw just... shooting him isn't going to cut it.
Dom, why haven't you killed us yet?
I don't want to have to deal with it.
That's the only reason?
Jack wasn't convinced. And if we haven't seen him yet, I figured he's just waiting until someone leaves the house to stop you getting away.
What if you went?
You think he listens to me? He must be a bad roommate. Oh, is he not? What are you talking about? Haas, what did you tell them?
Haas just shrugged and left it left it there, not elaborating further. So we just can't leave? We can't keep Memphis roaring like this forever. So what do we do? Not to mention Orlando is still missing.
The boss's kid.
You and Jack haven't seen him, have you?
If Jack got him, I'm sure we haven't, we would have heard something. I haven't done anything to him.
Hopefully he's okay.
If it's quite all right with you, gentlemen, I believe I may have a solution. A solution to what? Our dragon problem.
What do you have in mind?
Dominic, I believe you had bombs set up around the place. That's right. Would have been useful if we still had the detonator, though it's, totaled after you shot it. Well, can't have an unknown and individual having access to explosions now, can we? Suppose not. Though, I would like my gun back. If you would so please, I'm rather fond of it. Oh, right. Sorry. Hey!
Tyson's protest was ignored as Dom handed Benson's gun back to him, though upon receiving it, he immediately checked if it was still loaded.
Nothing remaining. Not taking that risk again. Were you planning on informing me of this? Probably not, if I'm being honest.
You're treating Dominic with a lot less hostility than I expected, Benson.
It's a compromise. Until this is over, I will hold off on anything given thus far. Things are proceeding well enough. No one has died since they've arrived, and made better by their boss being incapacitated too.
And then after...
All bets are off, I'm afraid. Ruthless. I like it. As I was saying, though, the explosions planted around the house should serve some use to us after. While bulletproof, I doubt Memphis has the constitution to survive point-blank explosions. I know I said I liked Ruthless, but this is the next level of extreme.
I don't think we have a choice, unless there's a way we can somehow trap him somewhere and poison him.
I don't believe poison would be all that useful to us. If what Orlando has told us about his own biology. I'm imagining you're talking about how the boss can drink like a fish. Somewhat.
Drink like what?
Can I trouble you to go retrieve these bombs, Dominic? I fear if any of us leave, Jack may be a hindrance. Sure, I can do that.
Not that I'm opposed, but why are you so willing to kill your boss? Is this easier somehow?
Sometimes it's not about what's easier.
It's about what's right?
It's about what's in my best interest. Fuck the difference between right and wrong.
I like Dominic. I like him a lot. What a cool guy, you know.
I suppose that will have to do.
Dominic turned immediately and started to turn towards the back door, disappearing out into the night. So what? We're going to just put bombs around Memphis downstairs and hope for the best? Why not?
It's the best option we have available to us.
But the fire. Maybe we had to let it play out. Maybe we had to avoid what I'd seen at all cost. There was no way of knowing which was the way forward. What it looked like, Roswell was equally confused. We'll need to evacuate then, right?
Indeed. Though with Jack in the woods, it's hardly a safe bet. Not to mention that someone needs to remain behind to at the very least, to plant the bombs.
Let it be Roswell. Let it be Roswell! Dominic won't do it?
I would rather not take that risk. I doubt he'd be willing to be caught doing something on a sly like that, anyway. The complications would be messy.
Then who, though? So who then?
I'll do it.
Sal, you wouldn't.
Someone has to. And outside of Orlando, I imagine that I have the most experience with Memphis. At least of the people not directly working for him.
Shouldn't I do it? Yes, yes.
I believe Sal has a point. Should anything go wrong, I'd think you'd fare very long against the rampaging dragon, which should only warrant sending someone else. And while Jack is unaccounted for, me as a butler, there works best.
I really... there's no other solution? There was silence. No one else looking to volunteer or could realistically fill the role better than Sal could. That decided it, and with Memphis yelling still downstairs, we just had to listen and wait until Dominic came back. How long could he remain like that? Oh, what was Thanatos doing to him anyway? They were questions that I had until the yelling started to die down. Dominic hadn't returned, and everyone else seemed to pick up on the lack of yelling coming from downstairs.
You don't think he's... There's no way to know. Hide just in case. I'll start by trying to secure us a way out.
Hello, Wolfstar. Benson started to move towards the front door. Dean, along with Hoss and Tyson, started to rush into the adjoining room. Roswell didn't budge. Leave him for dead. Neither did Sal. The tightness in my chest returned when I started to hear the dull tones of someone stomping up the stairs from the basement. He's coming. Sal grabbed Roswell and made a break for it too, leaving me behind. It was my hesitation that got me through, and I heard another crash from upstairs. It was a window shattering. None of my friends went upstairs, or at the very least, that's what I was sure of. Benson? I turned and he was gone, and looking over my shoulder, I could hear Memphis getting closer. I had to run and hide somewhere. The moment I closed the door behind me, I swore, realizing what I'd done. My body was almost on autopilot heading upstairs to where I felt safest, but all I'd done is delay the inevitable. Another glass shattering sound happened somewhere on the same level, though I had no idea why. Why? Where was Dominic or Jack? What happened to Benson? As if answering my question, I heard a gunshot that was a few more in quick succession. As any normal situation would warrant me putting stuff in front of my door and to keep people out, but knowing the place was likely to go up in flames made me just back up and cower and behind my bed. Behind the bed? It's against the wall. Where there's no behind. Anyway, another crash, another gunshot. Were the others all right? Had Memphis done anything? The ground rumbled, and I could feel the house shake. Was Memphis trashing the place? Was it a bomb? I peeked out and immediately could smell it. Fire, or at least smoke, had started.
Where are you?
He sounded manic, and even from behind my door I could hear him destroying things downstairs. There was that sound again, and the smell of fire only grew. I needed to get downstairs and out of sight quickly. There it was. The fire had started, and it seemed like Memphis was only adding to it. Oh, Dave, where are you? Jack's voice rang out from somewhere nearby, and where was he? Did he somehow come in through a window on the upper levels? Had he climbed the stairs? Either way, I couldn't see where he might be, and it's not like I could escape downstairs with Memphis prowling about. It'd be my luck to run into him at the bottom of the stairs. I could hear Jack going through the rooms now, kicking down a door here and there, cackling to himself over the fire. I had to run somewhere, only to avoid him a little longer. I slipped past where he was searching, and made a break for upstairs. The sound of the rampaging downstairs and the fire covering my footsteps. The conservatory was the first room I came across, and I thought might help. It was a couple of stories, but jumping from the window might be doable. But with the fatigue and the lack of being able to see how much below, it was a risk. What existed on the ground was lit was what lit light by a by an angry glow, shadows, long shadows being cast to join into the ones from the forest. Step one would be to break the glass. Second step would be to jump. Though jumping would feel a lot better if someone was down there to catch me. I know, secret passage. That is what I was. I was like, to be honest, this entire time I kept thinking like, why don't they just use the secret passageways? They have those. They're there. They've been used in this path. I don't know. And Dave, what are you doing? I seized up when I heard his voice and slowly turned around. I didn't think I'd find you up here. Almost didn't think I'd find you at all. When he took a step forward, I took a step back. What? Think I'm going to harm you? 'Cause you have that right. He lunged for me, but he didn't feel like he was being serious. Like he was still playing with me even now. Leave me alone! Oh, what I wouldn't give to have a weapon right now. Though with Jack Vaster, I wasn't sure I could get to the door, so I went to the bookcase instead. Okay, well now we doing the thing. We're doing that now. I pulled the bookcase, shoved the bookcase, and ran and ran for it. Jack must have found the whole thing interesting because he just let me do it. Not that it stopped me from running as fast as I could until I hit the library. When I reached the end of the passage, though, I could see the fire start to seep in from the floor. The glow was unmistakable, even though the haze of smoke already filtered into the room. I coughed, covering my mouth with an arm and making my way down quickly to the lowest level. The only way out from here would be to take the secret passage, though I got to the door as I realized the most important thing. Dave, it's no use running. I backed up from the door, knowing full well that I didn't know the password to open it. Looking over my shoulder, I could see Jack watching me coyly from the upper floor. So, what are you doing down there, Dave? The place is on fire, you know. Instinctively, I backed up further and bumped into the bookcase. You thinking of running? Could always take the door right there. He gestured to the door I knew I had no way of opening. Well, if you're not going to, then I guess I'll just come down to you. In one fluid motion, he jumped over the railing and landed with a thud on a thud a little bit away from me, though his path forward was completely free. It's been fun, Dave. But after he took a step forward, his grin faded. I could tell why, too. The floor underneath us started to shake, rumble, and then... the floor between the both of us gave way. The only warning we had was the telltale groan of wood right before it splintered. I landed on my back, and it seemed as though Jack fell on his front, remaining motionless as I got up. Was he dead? Had he stabbed himself when he fell? Well, that hurt. I was barely on my feet as he picked himself up and dusted himself off. Now, where were we?
Jack, that's enough. We need to get out of here.
Dom, buddy, I'm in the middle of something here. I look over to Dom, standing in the doorway, the fire raging behind him.
The place is coming down. Listen to me.
I caught Dom looking at me briefly before he turned back to Jack. Yeah, I'll be quick. I promise. Now, just stop Dave from getting away, and it'll be fine. Another groan echoed from above, louder than the flames around us, and we looked up. Oh, there they go. I was shoved aside by Dom into a heavy bookcase as he moved forward. The whole time this This happened in slow motion, the pair of them disappearing behind a mass of falling bookshelves and books from the library above. The smoke was getting heavier, and it was getting harder to breathe. It was so thick that leaving the room into the hall was the easy part. Navigating the way seemed nearly impossible without crawling. As I could hear all I could hear was fire, the occasional bellow from Memphis, but nothing from either Jack or Dom. Not anything from any of the others either. But from how little clean air was left, it was getting hard to stay conscious. I could feel the strength leaving my body. The foyer looked unrecognizable amidst the fire, though my memory was filling in the blanks. Perhaps it was the shimmer from the heat warping the air, but I looked for the exit. Both front and back doors were obstructed with rubble. Part of the entry had fallen over the front door, and the stairs had collapsed and is now blocking the back. I fell to my hands and knees, coughing. It was hard to breathe. I had missed my chance to escape from the fire. This is where I die. Or Dave, you can go to the kitchen where you know a window was shattered and you can jump out of it. You know, just thinking out loud here. Somewhere far off, I could hear yelling. Immediately around me, though, I could smell blood, a lot of it. And next came the sound of sirens, the feeling of my whole body screaming in pain, despite my mouth remaining closed. I wanted to yell, but all I could manage was a raspy gasp. Around me was shattered glass, pieces of metal, and I was wedged between a metal pole and a car. I couldn't move. I could spot my phone on the ground, Dean's name on the screen mid-call. If I could call out to him, maybe he'd send more help. The sirens were getting louder, even though I just opened my eyes, it was hard to keep them open. I closed them again, trying to block out the pain. My chest felt heavy. The fire around me was burning at my skin and fur. The smoke had only gotten thicker, and my breathing was labored. Bye. Is this supposed to be by some miracle? Did I get there? By some miracle, I was able to push myself back up onto the all fours. Near me was Memphis's gun, seemingly forgotten or left behind while he had moved on to the other parts of the house. The sound of heavy footsteps made my heart sink, though, looking through the smog to see the last person I wanted to encounter. He looked me over once. He noticed I was there, kneeling down to pick up his gun before lifting my chin with the barrel.
Last one left.
I flinched, expecting to be shot. That's what was going to happen if nothing changed, right? As he lined up his gun with my forehead, I heard a yell in the distance. Not that Memphis seemed to register it. The second yell he seemed to hear and lower his guard just as something came crashing through the smoke and collided with Memphis. Okay, sure. Orlando? Oh, where had he come from? The impact had knocked the gun from Memphis's hand, so at the very least I had one less thing to worry about. As I reached for it, my hand pulled back from the heat coming off the metal. It wasn't going to be a weapon I could use, or even lift from how weak my hands were feeling. Slowly, I struggled to my feet, enough that I could start moving again.
Goddamn faggot! Get out of my way! Why don't you fucking make me?
Oh, that's easy to do. Orlando, let's be reasonable here. That's an easy thing to do. I look over to where Memphis was grappling with Orlando, what appeared to be a standstill. Though when they started breathing fire, it was clear that neither one of them seemed to be affected by the attack. Though it was the opposite for the house. Let him try? No. The fire only added to the blaze, the heat, and was struggling to stay conscious.
You waste of an egg. And you're a shitty dad.
Stop hating Dragon Boy. I don't know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. Without his gun, I wasn't sure if Orlando was entirely safe from Memphis, but that quickly became less of a priority.
Dave, if you could hear me, get out of the house. It's coming down.
Was that Orlando's heroic act? Was that everything he needed to do? I took the first chance that my leg would give me to head towards the dining room, though the way forward was barred from fallen parts of the house. I headed to the corridor, looking to take the long way around instead. It made a bypass into the kitchen, but it was better than nothing. Leaving Orlando behind to fight Memphis, I tried to go as fast as I could, though could hear equally sluggish footsteps behind me. It could have been anyone, but I didn't want to turn around to find out who it was. Halfway down the corridor, I heard those footsteps pick up, as if noticing who was ahead of them. Faster and faster they picked up, and I was thrown into the wall just outside the kitchen, crying out for my body hitting something currently on fire. "Hey, Dave," he cackled, grabbing hold of my ankle and almost dragging me closer. His knife was in his other hand, though he was covered in burns, cuts, and bruises. It was a wonder he was still moving. "Funny thing, Dom's dead. A whole bunch of crap fell on him when he tackled me through the wall." He coughed, rolling almost seamlessly into laughter. "He's dead, Dave. And Dom's dead. Soon your buddy Orlando will be too. And then you. And me." I could have sworn he faltered somewhere in his laughter, implying that he might have been scared or sad. Maybe he knew he was already on the way out. "But I can do this. I can do this much before I kick it." He crawled his way up my front, getting closer with his knife with every drag of his body. His knife was poised just above my chest, hand shaking as he looked me in the eyes. This was it. I was sure I was dead. Nothing short of a miracle would have stopped Jack from finishing me off. Kiss him. Come on. And another to get me out of the house before it collapsed on me.
"Dave?"
I could hear a voice, not overly familiar, but something about it I could swear I had heard before.
"Oi, get up, Dave. You're going to die if you stay here."
Oh, it's looking at me! Oh my god! Thanatos! Look at this boy! Look at this boy! What is this? How do I hide the text? Is it H? Yeah, there you go. Look at this lad. Look at this lad. Oh. Look, he's salvageable. He's salvageable. Who? Thanatos, is that you?
Yeah. Close call about Jack, huh?
What do you mean?
You want me to run down how I killed him, now?
No, but I don't think I can move.
You can. You will.
And the others?
Dave, get the hell out of here, all right. There's nothing left for you here.
But...
Dave, get out. Run. Do that or die. Your choice.
We'll pick him up. I stumble up into the kitchen and almost falling over again, leaving Thanatos. No, don't leave Thanatos behind. No, he's best boy. Something big rocked the very house. I couldn't tell if it was an explosion or just Memphis and Orlando still fighting. Either way, it made me trip, and I stumbled into the dining room and onto my face. I picked myself up and looked up at the window. Orlando had thrown himself through the promise of clean air, giving me that last push I needed to get out. Another explosion rocked me off my feet, and I stumbled forward onto the jagged glass of the windowsill. It cut into me deep, and I gasped out, the wind leaving my lungs. Hands, arms, and chest cut up, but I was still standing somehow. And the promise of fresh air was enough. Though the opening that Orlando had created, I climbed out and promptly collapsed onto the ground. I was outside, and the moment I had open sky above me, excuse me, I breathed in deep. The air wasn't as clean as I would have liked, but I was breathing more than smoke. Another blast from inside made me crawl into a ball, shielding my head with my arms in case something fell from above. Well, start rolling, start going. You know, you can still move when you're on the ground. But I didn't have time to get comfortable. I was carefully picked up by a pair of strong arms, and slowly the flames had faded. Not entirely at first, but eventually they died down to the gentle grumble in the back of my mind. My nose was clogged with smoke, my eyes watery and irritated with soot. But being cradled felt right. It was safe. Right up until the moment of calm was replaced with me remembering what had happened inside the house. I opened my eyes, right as I was being set down against the tree. I could tell we were a little bit down from the house in the driveway. Dean lifted my chin lightly and flashed me a smile.
You're safe. Promise.
He placed a hand on my shoulder and shifted back slightly, looking behind him.
The others are all here too. Well, mostly.
I looked past him to the others, shaken but otherwise all right. But notably, not everyone was there. Orlando? Roswell? We don't care about those two. Oh, it's fine. They all looked at me when I spoke and quickly looked away.
Dave, it's, well, Orlando, though. Whatever got into him, the guy's got balls. As for Roswell,
none of us saw him, right? Could he have just escaped? He didn't want to look at me after proposing he escaped. He wasn't lying. He was being hopeful, which means we were only one other. There was only one other place. I rushed back to the house, but couldn't bring myself to approach the front door. Even if I wanted, the place was still going up in smoke. Shouting out for them wasn't an option. For the moment I tried, I just started to cough. Orlando was still in there, fighting with his dad the last time I saw him in Roswell. I was thrown back onto my rear as another explosion rocked the house, followed by another. The house started to come down, collapsing in on itself as it was... and with the fire found itself smoldered, while the trees around the grounds were singed. I'm not having troubles, I swear. And the grass charred. It seemed that the fire hadn't properly spread. As I stood and watched as the fire started to die, my eyes scanned the windows in places where the walls had fallen down in hopes of seeing anyone else emerge. And the others had come to stand by me, and we were just waiting for it to sink in. It's just hours of us just standing there watching, waiting for nothing to change except the heat dying down with the flames.
So it ends like this.
The prospect of this being the end was sickening almost. Hadn't I done everything required? We were sure that Memphis was dead, and Jack and Dom almost certainly, but...
Well, we find ourselves in need of some help once more. Though this time it feels as though making our way off the mountain should be easier. Though the status of Memphis leaves much to be desired.
I left the ground and approached the house, residual heat making me wince as I reached forward to see if I could try to move any of the rubble, though I could clear quickly that I could not.
Dave, are you all right, physically? You were in the fire the longest out of all of us.
As I went to talk, I once again found myself coughing, and I was quickly braced by Dean. And we started to move away, my spirit broken from not being able to voice something as simple as wanting to know if Orlando was alright. But then, as if by some miracle, I heard the rubble shift behind me. I anchored myself to the ground and turned, looking back at the house, with Dean's hand still on my shoulder. Maybe it was just the house settling. Maybe I was just being hopeful, but I watched and waited all the same. The minutes ticked by, and I found myself gripping my fur, muttering under my breath for someone to hear, for some sort of god to step in and make things right. Please! Then and there, the rubble moved away, my breath catching in my throat.
Hey!
Orlando peeked out of the rubble, sighing and collapsing against the piece of wood, still glowing with embers.
Can someone help me move this? It's kinda heavy.
I rushed forward and was about ready to hug him, but was quickly reined in by Sal and Tyson.
Don't worry, I'll do it.
It took him some effort, but eventually he stepped out of the house and promptly dropped so he was sitting down.
Someone, remind me never to do that again.
As quickly as he'd sat down, he was pushed over by me, tackling him into the dirt. I thought you were... He patted my back as I started coughing again, sending us both back up. Oh. Push him back under? Yo, Ian, that's true, though.
Orlando, buddy, what happened in there? How did you... survive? Fireproof.
Yeah, but the house came down on top of him.
Houseproof. I'm not houseproof, but fireproof, yes.
Which means Roswell.
No, I don't know.
I look over to Dean and Benson, and they set off to check the perimeter.
But, Dad, he's dead.
How? Tell me. Drag out his body, I want to know.
Dead, you sure? I thought I'd be more sad, or sad at all. Instead, I feel tired.
Eat Roswell's corpse, let's go! This is a lot to take in. Dave, get the hell out of here, alright. There's nothing left for you here. You should have taken him. You should have taken his little body. A memento. I shook my head, trying to block out what I could see in my mind of Thanatos as we parted ways. Roswell, he was in there, which means...
Dave.
Roswell, he has to be dead. He has to be.
Dave, he still could be.
I look over to Orlando, and he was quietened with a hand on his shoulder from Sal.
It's a miracle that you made it, Orlando, but it's still hot, but I can go back in. I can if I need to.
Now, if it was Orlando's turn to cough, though not nearly as bad, I didn't like the idea of him going in there and making it worse. Dominic died saving Jack. Thanatos died killing Jack. Memphis died somehow.
Trust me, you don't want to know. And Roswell died for not escaping.
But maybe he got out. Maybe he's in the basement. We just don't know. I stepped back from the door and looked at what was left of the house. It was mostly there. The overall shape existed still, but it was clear that the inside was no longer existed. So many things lost in the fire, things that we'd never even known about.
Hey,
we all looked up to Dean as he approached with Benson, though from how he was looking, I already knew what he was going to say. You didn't find him?
I'm sorry, but nothing. No sign of him.
Without the fire department, there's little we can do to check inside the house either, especially while it's still smoldering. So, what do we do now? Everyone looked around at each other, broken and sad, confused and hurt.
We go home.
Tyson dusted himself off, held me by the shoulders, and looked me in the eye.
We get the fuck off this mountain, Dave. With Memphis and his associates taken care of, I imagine that there is now some leeway as to ask for some help. Perhaps now the full force of the police department, but it's something.
And the road?
Well, we're not crossing that gap with those wounds.
He gestures in front to my front, and I become aware of the pain again, the adrenaline having worn off.
If there's anything left for us here, we should head down the road and seek help. Now, not all of us need to go, but it's best we stick together.
Orlando was supported by Sal. Tyson took me, and we headed down the driveway. About halfway, Tyson swapped out with Haas, trying to pep himself up to cross the gap in the road. It was quite a walk, as there wasn't much to say. Of course, we were happy we survived, but we were tired and stressed. We were wanting to go home. We also didn't want to acknowledge that we were leaving someone behind. Who? Oh right, we did leave Thanatos behind. That's true. That's a little sad. That's very sad. The further we got from the house, the cleaner the air got. Though looking behind us, I could see the tower of smoke rising from behind the trees. From far away, I could hear sirens. Someone was already coming. I sat down against the cliff, resting my eyes.
Hey.
I had. There's two hads there. One's just disguised. Them closed for only a few seconds before I looked at Tyson, crouched before me.
Don't go passing out.
I'm just resting. That's all. For even a second about Thanatos. It's true. It's my bad. This is the biggest sacrifice in this route.
I'm going to head down the mountain and secure us some assistance. Someone watch over Dave and make sure he doesn't pass out.
Benson and Tyson headed towards the hole in the road, and it seemed they were both heading down together.
It's over, right? It's really over? I think it's too soon to say.
How come?
I'm willing to believe Memphis is dead if Orlando says he is, though I'd like to know the details.
The details matter?
Not so much, no. But if he is gone, I imagine that it's going to complicate things moving forward.
Because?
A power vacuum. With the head of the crime family dead, things may suddenly become a lot more dangerous as people fight over who's next in line.
Which would be Orlando, but...
Exactly.
So, this is Orlando's chance to get out if he wants.
And I do want, but...
But?
If me stepping out now puts people in danger, would I be better off just trying to change things while I'm in charge? That's very naive if you think you that way, Orlando.
No kidding. Like, surely it's not going to be that easy. So the choice is for Orlando to become a criminal, or...
If I'm understanding right, the alternative puts everyone else at risk.
I laugh, covering my eyes. It's like we hadn't changed anything. Removing the crime boss only just replaces him with Orlando, as he was going to do anyway.
Dean, you want to weigh in on this. You've been quiet this whole time. Me? This isn't going to be some dramatic reveal that you've been working for Dad this whole time and now you've done, wait, you don't have a job, is it? No, not at all. But I am thinking about what to do once we're home. Oh, do tell. Well, I was thinking about trying to make amends with someone, that's all.
Oh, okay.
Don't.
That's so rude. That's so rude, Orlando.
So is that a no in getting his number? Are you serious right now? We could have all just died. My priorities have shifted. Yeah, they sure have.
I look over to Haas, flashing him a tired smile.
What are you planning to do once we get home? I'm gonna be frank. I want a nice bath, some cheap fast food, a good cuddle on the sofa. Sounds great to me, really. Just to expect Tyson will probably also be on that sofa if we're at mine. Like I like I care if he sees us cuddling. It's more like he might be jealous. Not that I mind. He can be jealous. Good. With a sigh, I closed my eyes again to get some rest. Dave, have you heard what Tyson said? It's fine, just resting my eyes. Well, he's already across the gap with Benson, so did you want me to leave you napping? If it happens, sure. I felt him lightly pat the top of my head before hearing him sit down next to me. I told myself that I was just going to rest my eyes, but I could feel myself passing out. No one could have blamed me for needing the rest, right? Ah, 2 weeks later. We're back to this ending. we're back to this background. I haven't seen this since endings like C and D. Since getting off the mountain, things had been rough to start. The fire department had come to tend to what remained of the fire. The police had questioned all of us, and the paramedics made sure we were all right. The first time in a while, I could tell Mom was worried, though she didn't say anything as she just checked me over, commenting on how my stitches had been done, and and such, only come as a passing comment one night as she was home for dinner. The one night she was home for dinner, she didn't show up for another 3 months. Hey, Haas, he's not going to bite, you know. Haas shuffled close and stopped beside me, looking around quickly, before dropping to the ground, like I was, and breathed out a sigh of relief. I know. It's just so open. He'd been like this since we'd gotten back from the mansion. Apparently, he was noticing just how strange things had gotten. At first, he thought he was being paranoid, but within a few days, he was convinced that there was more of a mob showing than usual, which in turn meant he felt safer inside. And not that it was so bad for him with so much anime and such to enjoy, but it was a little worrying. I wonder what this would be life if you did Tyson route. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ian, it's fine. We did the Haas ending. It's fine. We'll be getting the Tyson ending in Route A. So it's good. We'll get there. And what, I have to do Route E with Tyson, right? We'll do that at some point. You can't just stay inside the rest of your life, Haas. If I moved somewhere else, I'd be fine for sure. Just here, with all of the Memphis's goons still about? He's dead, though. That's my point. Maybe once Orlando's in charge, things will settle down. God, I hope so. He put an arm around me and looked down at the grave. It wasn't the first time that we'd visited Dad together. I'd been here every other day, just to clear my head. Plus, being here somehow made me feel better about how things ended up. Do you miss him? Yeah, it's just still so strange that he's gone. I knew who he was referring to. It wasn't Dad, but instead Roswell, who we were also here to visit. Or at least I made the mental note to remember. And Tyson's been asking me how you've been. He's also been checking in personally. Do you think he's going to try and steal me away from you? Do you want him to? Would you take it personally if he did? Yes. A lot? Well, good thing he's not my type. At least as nothing more than a friend. Friend zoned! I'm sure he'll be heartbroken.
We laughed a little, and I stood up to stretch. Hear anything from Orlando?
Only what you've told me. Though I've heard from Tyson uh, that him, along with Dean and Sal, were trying to make a weekly thing of going out.
I think I remember hearing Tyson saying something about that. We were doing, bowling or something.
Closer to social meals at the bowling alley for now, but I think that's the plan, yeah.
What about your brother and sister? Anything new going on with them since you've been back?
I'll be honest, that's who I called the moment we were off the mountain. Those tears weren't just because of everything we went through after all.
So they're good, right?
Yeah, once I get the courage to leave the house, I'm gonna try and make the trip over to see them.
Would it help if I came too? I don't think there's much else going on here otherwise.
You know what? I'd like that. I'm sure they would too.
I rubbed his back and rested my head on his shoulder, though it was only a minute or two before we stood up.
Time to visit Roswell. I'd say yes if he didn't already have visitors.
He pointed across where Roswell's grave was, and sure enough, he was right. Well, they aren't going to bite, come on. We wandered over, and sure enough, we knew both of them. One from our vacation, and the other from Roswell's funeral a few weeks ago. A week ago, not a few, a week ago. One, singular. Hey. Hello. To what do we owe the pleasure?
I would imagine they were here visiting their departed friend.
Oh, but of course.
You say that like you're not standing right here in front of his grave.
Well, I'm sure Roswell appreciates it, wherever he might be.
How are you two faring after getting home?
I'm managing, but things have been rough in general, too. For some more than others.
Well, that's to be expected.
I can say for a fact that, for Mr. Sinclair, things have been rough too, following Memphis's departure. The life of a crime attorney is exciting if dangerous. Is he really in that much danger? Oh, I'm sure things will be fine, especially with your friend Orlando leading them now.
He's really going through with it. Well, I guess if his mind is made up. All things considered, I think I think his hand was pretty forced.
I can assure you that if he was to get in any trouble, my husband will take care of it, as best as he can, anyhow. If you say so. Have some faith, Dave. It'll be fine. Oh, well, I remember. I feel like you should have this. She pulls out from her pocket a piece of metal. She hands it over without thinking I took it in hand and turned it over.
Oh, great. Now we have Sagittarius as a guiding arrow towards the future.
Really? Really?
No, we don't. That game is long over, Dave. Why are we being given this anyway?
In my defense, I gave it to Dave specifically. But why? Haas is right. Sagittarius is in a way a guiding arrow, a sign of mutability, of change. And to that end, I would like you to keep in mind that very thing moving forward.
Moving forward?
I saw Haas was about to launch into something, but a hand on his chest made him back down, throwing his hands up instead. I don't think I understand. Considering the decision you made on the mountain, Dave, the decisions, the people that lived, the people that died, and the possibilities that could unfurl if different choices were made. And you needed to give me a medal to deliver that message? Well, if I'm being quite honest, I think it was a little unfair of me to take this medal from the mountain when I did, right before you all arrived, in fact.
In layman's terms, the game we provided was incomplete in its inception.
Well, that wasn't very fair. And for that I apologize. But the meaning is still just as important. By all means, if you could find a way to meet me on that mountain before I left, who knows what could have happened.
Now I know where Roswell got it from.
Why, thank you, dear. That wasn't a compliment.
I do not believe that was meant as a compliment entirely, Florencia.
I'm choosing to take it as one regardless. What the? No? Okay. We're just gonna make that save there. Ignore. Okay. Okay, we good. We good. She flashed me a smile before gesturing for Benson to follow. Best of luck, you two. This is not a Pokemon stream. It shouldn't be happening. Look, the game didn't crash. I didn't have to exit the game. We didn't have to reboot or anything. It's fine. We're good. The pair departed, though one left with a lot more of spring in her step than the other. Haas and I watched them leave, a little confused, but I found myself running my thumb across the engraved arrow all the same. You know what? I think I'm going to take that visit to my siblings sooner rather than later. Just because of that? And start T-posing? Oh my god.
If only because I want some normal people around, and no one's going to be more normal to me than my family.
He took my hand and gave me a gentle squeeze, flashing a smile.
Plus you, of course.
It took about a week of planning, but Haas and I took a trip to see his siblings. Things were a bit rocky with his parents, but they seemed nice enough. I think they were just glad that he was home again. When we came back, I moved out of my place and left it in Tyson's care. Really? Okay. Something he was more than happy to do, if only because he didn't want to be living with his dad anymore. I still made the effort to go over to have dinner once a week, though. And Dean announced one day that he was opening his own cafe, having gotten a large sum of money from an anonymous investor. Something deep down told me it was Orlando looking out for us, but there was no way of knowing to be sure. The most I saw of Orlando in the coming years was on television after having gotten out of court, or in the paper for being accused of something. Never once did I hear him being found guilty or of anything, so Mr. Sinclair must be doing his job. What a great ending to be told that we never see Orlando again. Cell disappeared for a bit, but showed up one day in a fresh police uniform, having spent the last couple of years in the academy as a way to try and keep the world a little safer. I like to think he did, as the years ticked by with nothing bad ever really bad happening to us again. I like to think he did, as the years. Yeah, I already read that. Yeah. But who's to say? Wait, did I read all of that? No. Part of me reasoned that all the bad happened on the mountain all at once. But who's really to say? Haas and I had our ups and downs like any couple, but for the most part we were happy. It wasn't a perfect life, but it was ours. And for what started us down this road, all the grief and vacation brought us, I was thankful in some way that I lived through it. What? And for what started, I was thankful I was to live through it, for better or worse. Okay. I don't know, that was a cool route. I liked that. It was the neat. Sal getting ready for Password 2! Yeah, we could... Do we know who's confirmed to be in Password 2? I remember hearing about it and then didn't actually, like, do anything, because I'm lazy. But that was cool. Maybe Haas wasn't, like, the best decision to do that ending with, but we were already streaming, so... Roswell? Well, fucking hell, what's the point? Sal, Hoyt, and Roswell. What's the point if Roswell's gonna be there? Packing up, boys. Like... Oh. Roswell's fun. I just love, like, shitting on him. I don't know why. Because I probably dislike Orlando more as a character. But I shit on Roswell far more. I don't know. Was I born just to dislike Roswell? Is that what happened? Because it was like... It was right away, right? Like, we go back to part 1 of the playthrough, and it's like... The first second Roswell is on screen, I'm like, I don't like this kid. I don't like this kid. Like, I don't know what happened. Roswell's my natural enemy. Orlando hate came soon afterwards. Yeah, well, you know, if Orlando didn't want me to dislike him, he would be better. But I get it. There's too many banger characters in this game, right? You have to have someone at the bottom. We have the toppest tier husbando, Thanatos. And we have the second best husbando, David. And then the third best one, Jack. These are the top 3. I'm sorry. This is very... this is just how it is. Tyson is definitely the best of the characters you can date, though. that's how we do. Where's my Jack route? Grizz, please. It's fine. Jack is a good boy. Where's my David route? I would love if David had a route. Prefer Dom to Jack. That's very reasonable. I don't know what it is about Jack. I think it's because Jack seems like he is just having more fun than anyone else in the game. He's just so happy. And that happiness radiates to me, where I'm happy when Jack's around, you know? Like, it's just, that's how that works, right? Like, happiness is infectious, and Jack has so much. It's so much, everyone gets to have it. DLC, oh my god. It's fine, guys, but I hope you all enjoyed. I really enjoyed reading this. Real cool route. I do want to eventually do the werewolf timeline, so maybe I'll stream that at some point. But I guess, like, whichever comes first, like, if I decide to do the werewolf route, or when we get a Path A continuation, I guess I'll see you then for Password, right? So, have a good night, everyone, and I'll see you around.